my shoe over there. You didn't happen to find a shoe in the car,
My
did you?
lord, yes I did. That's your shoe?
She totally lost
So
her
I brought
shit.
like
Oh my
backup
God, okay.
shoes just in case I got a blister.
Hang on, let me. Well, we'll get it out. It's
Don't
up
rush,
under
my
here.
feet are fine.
One of the.
Oh, that's so amazing.
Is it a little kind of beige flat?
Yeah. Great service.
That explains the shoe. I was wondering about the Cinderella slipper.
She was like, I lost my shoe. I'm like, well, no, you're wearing them. She's like, no, I have two in my pocket. I only have one now. I'm like, why do you have two shoes in your pocket?
That solves the mystery. I was actually going to tell you about that.
It's a little past 12 in the morning. The moon is bright, the skies are cloudless, and the air is slightly chilly with 37 degrees. I'm sitting in a Marcos cab riding around Iowa City with cab driver Helene Lubaroff. She's been on the streets for 7 hours now, with 5 more to go. But if you were a passenger in her cab, you'd never know. Her upbeat attitude is contagious, and her love for her job undeniable. Stay with me as we get an insight to what a night on the town means for Helene.
I was born in Iowa, a small town called Wilton, Iowa. Grew up there, moved to Iowa City in 1984 to come to college. Stayed afterwards, raised my own family here. I have sons that are 20 and 22. And I got into cab driving 16 years ago to support my family.
Helene's work week starts on Wednesdays and ends at the crack of dawn every Sunday. She comes in at 5 p.m. and parks her personal car at the Marcos Dispatch Center. If the daytime driver is back, her cab will be waiting for her in the lot. If not, she waits. Once she gets the vehicle, she pops the hood, checks the oil and coolant fluid. She checks the tires and gives the inside a once-over for cleanliness. She hangs her taxi badge on the dashboard and on the back of her seat, brings in her books, her cooler, and anything else she needs to survive the 12-hour shift. But what Helene insists is important to have when working in the cab industry is a sense of humor.
We have a bond.
And by we, Helene refers to the almost 200 cab drivers licensed by Iowa City each year.
Sort of a shared experience that any time people have something that they share in common, which separates them from the general public. And typically, if it's something that's intense, like war, like driving drunk people around, like whatever that thing is, you have these common understandings, and you feel a camaraderie with one another. And so even those of us who work for different companies and may have never even worked together at a particular company, because many of us have worked for more than one company during the course of our career, you see each other at a gas station, you take them in and say, hi, how's your night going? It's just, again, you just share these experiences. You know what it's like to be afraid that you're going to be robbed. You know what it's like, to have somebody go unconscious on you and you have to get medical intervention. You know what it's like to pick up a woman that's just been beaten. You know what it's like to deal with somebody who's whacked out on drugs.
And after 16 years in the industry, Helene also knows how to make customers feel at home in her cab. Just ask 5-year customer and friend, Tommy.
Helene truly is in part not just my friend, but she's also my therapist. Whenever you have a stressful evening in the downtown Iowa City, she's always been a great ear to hear all the grief that we've had to deal with. So, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
With about 3 hours left on our time together, I asked Helene this. What's one thing you'd like the passengers of cab drivers to know?
Another cab driver in a piece he wrote that I read a long time ago said, to be a cab driver, you got to have the patience of a toad and nerves of steel, because otherwise you're going to take it into a wall and you're going to crack it up. And that's true. I mean, you got to kind of, if you're going to survive in this industry, you have to develop some steel in your soul. But that's good for life anyway. You're going to need it. You know, because you will deal with people who look down on you. Cab drivers are, by most, considered, well, I won't say, let me rephrase this. I'm not going to say most people feel this. I feel that many people feel that cab drivers are of questionable moral character, usually unintelligent and uneducated. Frankly, you will find that that's not really the case the vast majority of the time, especially in a college town like this. It's kind of like actors, you know, waiting tables in New York. Old English majors drive cab in Iowa City. So I would say, yeah, the challenges, I would say to them that they do not understand the challenges of the job. It's much deeper than they see it, and that the cab drivers are so much more real and three-dimensional than they give drivers credit for frequently. A lot of people get in, and I realize that we're part of the show, as I mentioned earlier, along with the staff that works downtown. We entertain the people. And so they always get in and they want to know our best story, or what's the craziest thing that ever happened to you in the cab, which is, you never can tell them the good stories. What they want when they ask you that question is never the stories that matter. It's never the good stories. It's never the true and the real stories. What they want is the stuff that's made for TV. What they want is that bullshit on HBO Taxi Cab Confessions, which is so scripted it isn't even funny. You know, and so you give them that. You give them the entertaining story, because they don't want the real thing. They wouldn't understand the real thing. They don't get the poignancy. They don't get the beauty of it. They don't get the pathos. They want the sex and the titillation. They want, ooh, I had these drunk chicks in the back and they were taking their shirts off. For Christ's sake, I'm a 50-year-old woman. Why would I tell a story like that? But that's what they want to hear, because to them, that's the exciting part. They want to hear me say, oh yeah, these kids were so drunk. Oh my God, they were saying all these silly things. Really? Drunk kids say silly things? Gosh, that's new. That never happened in a previous generation. It's like they're and I get it. They're young. They think they're experiencing this for the first time, and they think they invented it. And they don't have the perspective yet to see it from our end, where we're old and we're jaded and we've already lived that dream.
But despite the shortcomings of many passengers, Helene has been a driver for over a decade. Why?
The easy, obvious answer, the surface answer, is simply a matter of inertia. Once you're in a position, it's easier to continue than it is to go through what you need to do to change. Although I did leave once briefly and came back. The leaving was for reasons of pride and wanting to work in something closer to, actually what I had studied in college, which was writing. I had an opportunity to take an editorship of an extremely small paper called the Lone Tree Reporter, which is weekly with circulation of 1,000 in Lone Tree, Iowa. It's held by a micro-publisher, Selected Communications, that has the Kelowna paper. But I couldn't support my family, and I was going to die if I continued doing that job. There was no way. It was unhealthy. You can't live without sleep. So went back to cab driving. Now, what kept me in cab driving? Obviously, you got kids, you got to feed kids. Pure and simple. You do what you have to do. I don't care if it's digging a ditch, cleaning toilets, whatever. You feed those children. And that's what kept me in cab driving on the superficial level. On the deeper level, it's the connections with people like Tom and Marty and my other friends that I've made, and the connections with new people like you that I meet. I just enjoy engaging people. I enjoy the randomness of this experience. I enjoy driving, plain out driving. I just enjoy. I enjoy the flexibility. I am enough of an anti-authoritarian. I enjoy this job too. You will find many people in here who don't feel comfortable wearing the suit and tie, who don't want that typical structure. We want our freedom. We want our ability to control our destiny. That's one of the appeals about this job. But for me, what keeps me coming back are the people, the passengers. Talking with the new kids that arrive here from other countries who have no idea how to dress in winter weather. So I can tell them, here's what you need. This is what you need to survive this. Finding the people lost on the street corners at 4 a.m. that have wandered away from their friend's place, and there's so many angles to this job. It's always fresh. It's always renewing itself, even though it seems and often is highly repetitive, because if you think about it, all I'm really doing is, fetching and stepping. I'm just going back and forth and back and forth. I pick up, I drop off. I pick up, I drop off. But it's new every time, because it's new faces, it's new experiences.
Our night didn't pan out the way I expected. No one vomited in the back seat. No one tried to rob us. One kid did get angry while paying Helene because she needed to confirm the card with dispatch, but as expected, she handled it gracefully, even wished him a sweet goodnight. Everyone that got in our cab immediately took a liking to her sing-song voice, her random anecdotes about raccoons, comic conventions, Hills Bank, and the history of Iowa City eateries. Before I left, she assured me that everything she was right now and everything she had was more than enough.
It's okay, because where I am now is I have a job I love doing very much, with people that I love being with very much. I have 2 sons of whom I am so profoundly and incredibly proud as human beings and young men. I just, they're good people, which has been the only standard of success that their dad and my husband, their stepdad, have held. Is like success is being a good person to us. It has nothing to do with what you do or how much you make. It's who you are in this world, and do you make this world a better place? So what do I have to complain about? I have a roof over my head. I have far more than I can ever need in this world. People may think cab drivers are bottom feeders in society, and let them.